Welcome to Macklaw. As we promise every week, a good topic. Riaan van Wyk, a jurist and a legal enthusiast. And this week's topic is DACHA. Hello, Riaan.
Mac, thanks for having me. I'm really excited about today's topic.
We're excited too. Let's just get straight into this. Give us just a brief history of DACHA.
Well, look, Mac, I'm not going to ramble on about the history and the functions and where DACHA's come from. Everybody knows that. We South Africans, especially Cape Townians, know DACHA.
Yes.
So, but one thing I do find pertinent to your question is that we need to focus more on the economic functions and purposes of DACHA. And I'm not just talking about the illicit trade of DACHA. I'm talking about the qualities of the plant. You know, the plant in its hemp form can be used to make fabrics, which will change the textile industry. It can and it has been used to make bricks, therefore changing the construction industry, as well as biofuels. You know, we could probably run our own petrol just by cultivating DACHA, you know. So I think the main function and purpose of DACHA, irrespective of its history and illegality, is its economic ability to make South Africa and Africa as a continent economically self-sustainable.
You put that in such a nice light, but it's illegal. Why?
Look, in South Africa, the state, our government, has an international duty to protect the public interest. Right now, government has shown the courts and proved to our society at large that DACHA, smoked as a recreational drug, alters a person's persona or psychological status, and therefore it is not in the public interest to legalize DACHA because of the fact that this altered state of mind of person might be detrimental to the interest of the public, you know. So therefore the Drugs and Drug Trafficking Act 140 of 1992 was promulgated by the National Assembly to prohibit anybody, and I quote, it says in section 4b that no person shall be in his or her possession of any dangerous dependence producing drugs, and pertinent to DACHA, any undesirable dependence producing drugs, which DACHA or cannabis containing DACHA is categorized as. So that is why it's illegal as it stands today in South Africa.
Back in 2002, Gareth Prince, he took on the court trying to legalize weed, and now actually there's a big hype with the same application to try and legalize weed. Can you give us just a brief history on the case that Gareth Prince went against the court and what's happening now?
Yes. Mr. Mike, first of all, that is a brilliant question, because you see, ultimately what we need to do here is we need to differentiate between the legal issue that was put before the Constitutional Court back in 2002 with Mr. Prince, and we need to compare it to the purported legal issue that I perceive or would want the Dagga Party, which is the party that's actually bringing application to the Western Cape High Court right now, what they should put to the court right now as the legal question. And you must remember that Mr. Prince, as well as the Dagga Party now, all sought to make the court find that the prohibiting provision in the act I've just mentioned is unconstitutional. Now there's a maxim or a legal standing in our law as South Africans that no law that is in contrast to our constitution should be valid. Right? So now Mr. Prince back in 2002 said that, listen, DACHA is tied to my religion, I needed to practice my religion, therefore prohibiting me from using or possessing DACHA is violating my right to freedom of religion, you know. And the court correctly found, you know, in all respect to Mr. Prince and his fight, because I believe everybody should have free practice of religion. But the court correctly found that back then in 2002, it was wrong to, or it was justifiable to limit the Rastafarians' right to religion, which was at the time 12,000 strong, in comparison to a population which was at the time 40 million people plus. It was justifiable to limit their religion a little bit because to protect the public interest because of the mind-altering state or function of DACHA. But today, 14 years later, public interest has changed, you know. So I believe that if I was counsel for the Dagga Party, I would leave religion alone. I would leave the Rastafari out there, and I would advocate for public interest. And I would ask the question, the legal question before the court today, to be, what makes this dependence producing substance, or any dependence producing substance undesirable, you know. And I think the key factor in answering that question is public interest. But before we even get there, I would also lead scientific expert evidence to show the court that DACHA is not as harmful as what the public or the state's experts perceive it to be, you know. I mean, in the Prince case, it was perceived to be that DACHA, used in copious amounts, has a psychomatic effect that it causes hallucinations in people's minds. I've personally never heard of that, but then again, I'm no expert, you know, Mac. But, you know, I think then to move away from that, to break away from the evidence led in the Prince case, we need to now, my strategy would be to leave new scientific evidence proving that DACHA is not as harmful, first of all. Public has become more liberal in the sense of the use and the functions of DACHA, or cannabis containing DACHA, which is pertinent to the issue, and to make the court aware of public perception. And you know, that is why shows like Macklaw is very important, to let the general public know about what is actually going on in the legal fraternity in terms of changing laws that will affect society. So many times people of the public frown and express very strong emotions against what the courts have decided, but then again the opportunities were placed there, but the public has never made their views eminent to the courts. So shows like Macklaw makes the public aware of what's going on, and also allows the public to approach the correct forums to make their views clear to the courts, because the courts needs to develop the law in line with the Constitution and also in line with the ever-changing needs and perceptions of society, which dictates the public interest all in all. So that will be my strategy in a very vague and broad synopsis, Mr. Mac.
Thank you for that. And just to end it off, what do you predict the future would lie for South Africa with them fighting towards legalizing DACHA?
Okay, this is my prediction. My prediction that if the advocates for the proponents of legalizing DACHA, or the unbanning of the prohibition of DACHA, stands for actually doing exactly that, advocating for the people, and the people's views are moral and actually stands for the good morals of society, I believe that the courts will see that, because the courts will then have to use its inherent jurisdiction as a superior court, especially the apex court, the constitutional court, to actually give legal effect to the good morals of society and societal needs. And if DACHA is proved to be more good than what it is bad, I don't see how the courts would actually jeopardize or actually prejudice society by not legalizing it. So that would be my future take on it, yeah.
And there you heard it. We thank Riaan van Wyk with his insightful views on this controversial topic. Thank you, Riaan.
It's my big pleasure. I just hope it was helpful, and I just hope it inspires people to actually not take any law in South Africa to be the be-all and end-alls, but also to give grave introspection for the negative and positive effects it might have on society, and therefore going for changing whatever they believe to be in the betterment of society. Yeah.
Well, we thank Riaan van Wyk for being in studio, and you can catch us next week on Macklaw with great topics. And next week we are focusing on labor laws, where you can actually help yourself.
A lot more matters we'll be discussing. We'll also be encouraging you as our viewers to engage with us on our social media platforms, namely Facebook and Twitter, etc., in order for us to get a feel for what you would like to be discussed, so that we could actually engage and thereby help our viewers and the general public of